wanted to micromanage everything, wanted to be right about everything. And guess what? When that happens, it's just going to all fall on you. And if you don't know what you're doing or you can't dedicate the time to do it, the company, the business, the system will fail. Welcome to the Spinoso Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Alex Spinoso. My expertise is in scaling all types of medical businesses to 7, 8, and even 9 figures. And this isn't a podcast telling you you should do this. This is just telling you how I did this. And I want to help you build your business, take ownership of your life, and become a better leader at home and at work. And guys, I'd love to connect with you, especially if you're a medical entrepreneur. I have free courses available on dralexspinoso.com, as well as a medical mastermind at Charismatics. Join charismatics.com. Super excited to be starting that. We started that this December of 2024, and going into 2025, it should be really great. I mean, it's going to be awesome. So
Ooh, I can't wait.
we can't wait either. I didn't know what to say there.
All right. Well, today we're going to be talking about let's see. Today we're going to talk about navigating the weight of expectation.
Okay.
And this is something that entrepreneurs and CEOs deal with, but it's like, how do you manage that crushing weight that it feels like we have on us sometimes? And as a leader, you've got everyone looking at you, customers. They want to make sure you're meeting their needs. You have the weight of your staff that you're paying for their livelihood. And so you've got a lot of weight that sits on your shoulders as an entrepreneur, and always this like underlying pressure to live up to everyone's expectations. So this is going to be a topic that we unpack, get your insights on, and see how you've navigated, and that this isn't just about like a survival mode, but like as a leader, how do you take charge and really get ahead of this pressure that you could be feeling on a daily basis? And so, so you don't lose your sanity. We're
Yeah.
going to talk about that. We're going
Yeah.
to find out how you do that so well, unless you've completely lost your sanity and you're just hiding it
Well, that's
from
true
the
too.
rest of us.
That's absolutely true. I lost my sanity a long time ago trying to build a business. I think you have to be a little bit crazy in order to build a business. But this is one of those things that's extremely important, and business owners don't realize until you're in the shit, about how important it is that as you grow and as you expand, you're going to be the guy that everyone looks to solve their problems. And as you expand and as you grow, you're going to be the guy that ends up, or girl that ends up in meetings all day long. And there's books about that, death by meeting and all these other things that talk about, oh, you shouldn't have too many meetings during the day or anything like that, or else it's going to slow you down. And the fact of the matter is that's bullshit when you're growing a business. When you're at the top, you have to have meetings all the time. And they're meetings with your vendors, and they're meetings with your team, or they're meetings with other business owners trying to just talk through things and making sure that you are growing and expanding on a consistent basis. So this is really important, talking about the weight that you have on your shoulders, because it never goes away. It just gets bigger and bigger.
Yeah, and we're going to break this conversation down into 5 key strategies that have worked really well for you, that we think our listeners are going to be able to take away some incredible value and maybe implement some things in their own life so that they can bear this weight and be an incredible leader. And that first one that we're going to talk about is, it's really a privilege to have the expectations, to bear expectations on your shoulders. So the mindset behind it being a privilege to bear this weight versus some sort of task or some negative thing that somebody may experience.
There's another saying that has been circulated, and it's on memes and things like that, where they say, oh, well, I don't have to, I get to. And I'm not that type of like thinking person, but I understand what they're trying to say, where like, I don't have to go to the gym, I get to go to the gym, or I don't have to feed my children, I get to feed my
Mm.
children, or stuff like that. And I think that's a huge part of it. I think that mindset is a part of it, where you have to reframe the expectations that people are relying on you. And when they rely on you, to feed their families, to pay for their rent, to do what you need to do in order for them to succeed. I mean, that's actually pretty cool. That's a pretty awesome blessing to be able to have that. But at the same time, that is something that they're showing that they trust you a lot. Because if they didn't trust you, they wouldn't have continued to work for you because everybody wants to know that they're going to get paid at the end of the day. They work for themselves, not for you. So if they thought, I'm going to do all this work and there's no way I'm going to get paid at the end of the week or at the end of the month, unless they're retired, they're definitely leaving your business and they're going to
Mhm.
work for someone else. So they trust that you're going to be able to pay them at the end of the 2 weeks, every 2 weeks on the dot. And so that's a huge amount of trust. I mean, that's a sign that you're doing something right because those people are on your team. They want you to grow, they want to be a part of it. And at the same time, as you expand, those people wanting to be a part of it and wanting to grow with you, that's quite humbling as well.
How do you feel like somebody would change that mindset where they maybe feel the pressure and the weight as a negative thing? How do they change that perspective to see it as a privilege?
I don't think you can until you've done it for a while. I mean, at the beginning, it's just going to continuously suck. It just is. Like you're gonna get anxiety, you're gonna be worried about it. You're
Mm,
gonna, I mean, if you're a good person. Now, if you're a piece of shit, you won't really worry about it. You'll just be like, whatever, I don't really care. But if you really want to succeed and you want these your people on your team to succeed, you're gonna get anxiety about it. It's gonna keep you up. It's going to turn your stomach some days, and that's really just it. There's no shift in your mindset that can really happen other than okay, this is what I got to do. This is what I have to do to succeed. There's no other fucking choice here. I don't have another
mm,
choice. The other choice is I just do everything myself my entire career and I can't build a business because nobody else can run this place. Nobody else can help me grow. Nobody else has any opportunities, which
mm,
is just a shitty way to think. So you have to just realize that in order to grow, in order to expand, you need these people on your team. You need them to trust you. You need to shoulder their expectations and you need to live up to it. It's as simple as that. And then as you go through it and as you live up to it, the knuckles get thicker and the hands get calloused and you get used to it over and over and over and the amount that you bear grows, but it grows very slowly. It's like
mhm.
lifting in the gym. You can't go into the gym and deadlift 500 pounds if you've never been in a gym before. You have to go slow, steady, put little plates on at a time to progressively overload yourself, build that musculature up, and it will take months, years, I mean, sometimes decades to get where you want to be.
Oh, I like that analogy. It's really good that painting that picture because it's such a progressive load, and before you know it, you're carrying a lot more than what you did when you first started. It's like trusting the process, and then also, like, trusting yourself in the process, like, when you stretch a little bit and take on a little bit more, like, knowing, "Okay, I got this," and then you almost are proving to yourself, like, "I can bear the weight of this, and so let me push a little bit harder." But I think that tends to be the mindset of an entrepreneur anyway.
Mhm.
Like, we're always constantly pushing for a little bit more, like, wherever we're at is just not quite good enough. I think that's what makes for a good entrepreneur or CEO is somebody that's constantly looking for a little more, a little more, a little more. So, like, by the time you get to the end, let's say you've reached this point where you're like, I can bear the weight of a lot.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Absolutely. You're always pushing the bounds, always continuously growing, and that takes a different mindset, I think, than most people, but that's okay. I mean, you're going to have a lot of different mindsets on your team as you expand and as you grow and just realize that no matter what, uh, holding their expectations on your shoulders is vital for you to succeed. It's a
Mhm.
part of the growth and it's the part of what you can do to actually help them succeed and to really serve people. That's the whole point of business that I didn't realize until later on is that as you grow your business, if you make it more about them and more about your clientele, and not only your clientele, but also them as your staff and your teammates, then you're serving them. And that's what the whole purpose of what you're doing is supposed to be.
Yeah, which is really the second key point to bearing the weight of it is all you really can do anyway is serve people. And so
100%.
it's like, what does that look like as an entrepreneur when you're building a business? How does serving people from a client base and also like your teams, how does that play out? What does that look like?
Yeah, that's one of the important things that your staff might, I don't want to say push back on, but sometimes they might grumble about or push back on a little bit, is that they will have their expectations of you. And sometimes you're not going to live up to them. Sometimes the expectation of what should be done isn't what's actually done. But in the end, you're the leader. So you have to push the boat forward. You have to make sure that you're going in the right direction. And I think after a while, the expectations that your staff have of you will change. It won't be stuff has to be done this way, or it won't be this is the exact way we have to do it. It will be, hey, we expect this to improve and this to improve. And, the leader is going to do something to make sure that improves. It might not look like what I want it to be, but it will improve what we're trying. It'll improve what I'm trying to get at. And
Mhm.
that's kind of that lattice work, open door policy that we have at Genesis, where everybody could come up with an idea that we can implement. Now, some ideas are going to be shitty ideas, and we're just like, that's a bad idea. Or we've done them before, like 3, 4, 10 years. We've been around for a while. So that hasn't worked before. And it's like, that's probably a bad idea. This is why it's a bad idea. But at the same time, they're going to bring up stuff that might work or might, improve the company. So we want to implement that. We want to do those things and we want to try those things. And as we've grown, innovation is one of our core values and growth is one of our core values. So we're always talking about that. And the staff knows that if we put something new in, whether it's new marketing or a new EMR or a new way of doing things in general, it is only to benefit essentially the clinics, and as a result of that, them. It's to
Mhm.
give them a way to make more bonuses, a way that their workload is easier, anything that we can do to make things quicker and more lean where they don't need to do as much. That's our goal when it comes to any changes, any innovation. And that's part of service is making sure that people have everything that they need in order to really succeed at their job. And their job is really to take care of the clientele as best as they possibly can. So, are you doing everything that you possibly can for your staff, for your team, so that they can take care of your clients? And that's how we look at the service aspect of it, where if your intent is always to make more money, then you are going to end up fucking failing, period. But if your intent is to always make sure that the staff in your team have better opportunities, they grow more, they make more money, and at the same time, your clients are taken care of, they have high quality customer service, they have a high quality product that you're selling them or package that you're selling them, and you do right by everyone, your partners, your team, your clients, and that's really what matters is focusing on that that's being in service of your staff and your clients rather than yourself. And it's not going to look perfect. It's never going to be perfect, but that's how you're going to be able to sleep at night. That's how you're going to be able to grow your business because the team is going to feel that and they're going to rally around you when the times are really shitty, and they're going to be there when the times are really great, and on both sides they'll 100% still trust you.
Yeah, there's two things that makes me think about is recently on one of our all staff meetings, you brought up like giving them tools to make their job easier so they can not be as stressed out and they can actually have that free attention and have the space to serve the clients better, and that's why we're implementing some of the new marketing or some of the AI tools within the business because it does simplify the process for them, which means that they either have more time to see more people or more time to spend with the clients that are in front of them. And so what I really hear you saying is that one of the ways that you can tell that you genuinely are trying to serve your team is you want to create an amazing workplace for them. And then if the sole focus is making money, then that's a red flag. And that would be something that an entrepreneur or CEO really could grow from and needs to evaluate within themselves from like an integrity standpoint. Are you trying to serve people or you just want to make money? Because it's the serving of the staff that's going to make a difference. And you've done that very well. We at Genesis have done that very well. We just did the amazing workplace surveys and we got
Yep.
certified as an amazing workplace. So if you're listening, don't don't sleep on this key point because this has made us an amazing environment for our staff and they voted on it. It's not like we said, "Hey, we're an amazing workplace."
Right.
They actually took surveys and the feedback we got meant that we were certified as an amazing workplace. So, making sure you're really listening to these keys and utilizing them and implementing them in your business is going to change the type of business that you have.
Right.
We've seen it.
And it's listening to your staff and auditing your processes and procedures and seeing how many times are we asking the people on the front lines for feedback. How often are we using that feedback to improve processes, procedures? Our processes and procedures we have now are very different than what they were, a year, 2 years, 5 years ago, is because we're always innovating the process and procedures to make it better and better and better. And are you doing that in your business? Are you asking those questions in your business? And if you're not doing what you can to serve your own team, really.
Yeah. Yeah. Super, super powerful. And, you know, the other thing that comes up, and this kind of brings us into like our third key point, is the Messiah complex. That I feel like when you ask for feedback, it's because you don't have all the answers and you don't necessarily want your staff thinking that you're the one that's going to solve all their problems. And so, really checking in to make sure that Messiah complex isn't present for you. But I would like to unpack this a little bit more with you and find out when it comes to the Messiah complex that many entrepreneurs and CEOs have. Let's be real. Like as leaders, eh, everyone's depending on us and making sure that you're encouraging people to find their answers and not only look for you. So, one, that takes the pressure off of you as a leader. But how else can this show up in business just to make sure that people aren't giving themselves this Messiah, I have it all, I know all idea with their teams. So their teams know that they have some autonomy and can also grow within the business.
Well, like, let's be real. As leaders, sometimes like you have to feel like you got a little bit of a God complex because everything really falls on you. And I think it's even worse for medical entrepreneurs because medical entrepreneurs already have a God complex
Mm.
because that's what you have to do. You essentially go through school and go through medicine and hospital work and whatever you do. At the beginning, you go through that to save lives. That's really what you do. So you have to stave off God and say, nope, motherfucker, this guy's mine for a little bit while longer until you can have him later. That's the whole purpose of medicine, right? To prolong life. There's no other purpose to it.
Yeah.
Fix disease and prolong life as much as possible. So you have to have that kind of God complex. But at the same time, if you have that God complex and you can't learn anything from anywhere else, that's where the problems come in. Because you can be a great leader and have a little bit of that complex on you, that chip on your shoulder that you can do it better. and what you're creating is better, and you have to have that in order to be an entrepreneur. You have to have that in order to run your own business. You have to have that because there has to be some sort of idea that, hey, I could do this better than other people. Because if you couldn't, why the fuck would you build a business in the first place? You would just go work for somebody else who's better than you, who's better than what you think you can do.
Mm.
But at the same time, learning from other people, even if it's what not to do, that's what brings down your God complex or your Messiah complex. And realizing that micromanaging every single person or micromanaging every single portion of your business is never going to succeed. I had a business partner in a medical scrub company that we built, and
I bought those
oh,
scrubs
yeah, yeah, about those
actually.
scrubs, PC
Yeah.
Threads. This is a while ago.
Yeah.
And the problem was my business partner, the CEO at the time, would never take ideas and implement them. It was always like, we got to do it this way. We got to do it this way. We got to do it this way. And he was highly successful in a lot of other businesses. So for me, wasn't worth the argument. It was like, okay, let's do it that way. And as a result, guess what? I walked away from that scrub company long ago, gave my equity back, and the scrub company folded. It closed because it wasn't open to new ideas. It wasn't open to new ways of marketing. Wasn't open to affiliate contracts and things like that, which
Mm.
drive a clothing industry. Anyone knows in clothing, you have to get tons of models and people posting about your shit, or else nobody's going to go anywhere.
Mhm.
That's just how it is. Scrubs, medical scrubs, no different. So as a result of that, they failed, and it's because you wanted to micromanage everything. You wanted to be right about everything. And guess what? When that happens, it's just going to all fall on you. And if you don't know what you're doing or you can't dedicate the time to do it, the company, the business, the system will fail. And micromanaging only makes everybody worse because nobody can do what they're really blessed or born to do. And nobody can learn how to succeed on their own without getting a yes or a no from the boss, and them listening to everything you have to say. There's no innovation that happens because everything has to be exactly how you want it to be, which is not the most innovative. I guarantee that. Like, there are very few people that have 100% of the innovative ideas on earth in their system. And so that Messiah complex, that God complex can't hurt you if you don't listen to others, if you're not open to feedback, open to other ways of doing things.
Did you ever struggle with the concept of if I don't do it, it's not gonna get done? Or if I don't do it, it's not gonna get done right?
So I'll tell you a story. And, we've had my dad on the show, Steven Spinoso, and he owns and runs his own HVAC contracting company. And he has had his business for longer than I've been alive, 40 years now. And he has, after 40 years, an incredible reputation, a great business, and one employee. One in 40 years. And he's had some other employees, one, two at most at a time. But over 40 years of a business, he's got now one employee. And he didn't build it up to 20, 30, 40, 50. And then it's only been him and one other person. And as a result of that, you think, well, you know, he's got an okay business. He can pay everything. He was able to put my sister and I through private school, buy the house that he wanted, things like that. But at the same time, he had that cockiness or that ego, or that, if you want to get something done right, you have to do it yourself. And as a result of that, 40 years later, he has a business where he's got one employee, and it's almost unsellable
Mm.
because it's just him. That's a job for 40 years. Yeah, it's a job that you can do whatever you want, whenever you want, but it's not a business. A business is something that is sellable to someone else.
Mm.
That's just how it is. Like, you can call your small business whatever it is, but if you have to go in every single day and do everything in the business because you're a solo practitioner doing the front end, the back end, the all the QuickBooks and stuff like that, that's not a business. And I've been there. I was there at the beginning as well, but you have to start thinking the next level of I have to replace myself. Someone else has to come in here and grow this thing after I'm gone. And I was at a conference this weekend, and there was a older lady there that wanted to join Charismatics. We were talking about it, and she's like, "Well, I just want to make sure that what I built over the last 35 years, medical clinic, survives me." Was essentially what she said. And that's what you have to start to think about is like what you're building is not for you, it's for the clients, it's for those people. And so if that business dies with you, guess what? All those clients stop getting taken care of. All
Mm.
those people don't have anybody to go to. So make sure that you're building something that is consistently improving, consistently growing, and start to realize that other people can do great things without you. 100%.
Well, that makes me think about something that you've said on multiple occasions, and that is finding somebody that can do it like 80% of what you can do it. And like maybe let's share that because I feel like that's for our listeners, like something to keep in mind as you're balancing this Messiah complex with the I've got to do it all with the no, like it's okay
Yeah.
to let go of the reins a little bit. So will you explain a little bit more about what you mean by that?
Yeah, what I coach people and what I tell business owners is, and managers as well, is when you first have a replacement or somebody that you're going to train up to replace you, even if they're with you 24/7, 365, for 3 months straight, they're only ever going to be about 80% as good as you are at the beginning. And that might a beginning might be a year, 2 years, 3 years. They're only gonna be 80% or be able to perform 80% of what you can on a daily basis. And it's because obviously you have months and years of training before they do, more than they do. And they have to get to that point. So when you're replacing yourself, you have to be okay with that person you're replacing yourself with being only 80% of you
Mm,
and realize that that's okay because 80% of you is still 80% more of zero people whatsoever. So if there's 80% more of you and 100% of you, that's 180% of what you started with.
mm,
Otherwise, you always get 100% of you. You're never going to get more than that. And that's it. So replacing yourself with somebody who's 80% of you so you can focus on things that grow the business. And now there are people that are 100, 120% of me in their positions. Our front desk girls, and guys, they're amazing. Like they call the phones, they schedule the people, they know how to move consultations, etc. I can't do that. I've been so removed from it that
mm.
it would take me a few days to learn how to do it. So they're better than me at that. Sales. I don't sell straight to a client. Now I have a bunch of sales tricks and we have sales trainings and all that stuff. But at the same time, they're the ones that are implementing it every single day. So in that sales role, they're better than me at that. And that allows me to focus on other things that will grow the company and expand the company. So having those people in your company are going to be important because they're going to get better than you over time. But you got to give them time. At the beginning, they may not be better than you.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so good. That's so good. And the fourth aspect to really managing and bearing the weight of expectation comes down to the fact that healthy relationships are reciprocal. And I think that that's an important topic to really sit and talk about because it's a good reference point as to whether or not somebody that you have in your life and in your business is aligned with where you're going and whether or not bearing the weight of the expectation is right with some people or maybe if some people need to maybe not be on the team. And so like how do you figure that out and how do you recognize when the relationships you have in your life and in your business are reciprocal or not?
Well, there's the old phrase you can't pour from an empty cup. So you have to not just be about giving, it's about building relationships where the others will help support you and message you and follow up on you and make sure that you're doing well, okay, as well. Well, and make sure that you're doing okay as well. And a lot of times your teammates, they won't understand. They may not bring that back to you, but your higher level people, your managers, and maybe it's just you and another person at the beginning, that person, you want to make sure that they're checking on you as well. You want to make sure that they're that type of person. And sometimes you can't really teach that. That's something that a lot of times is innate. And if you give and give and give and give and they don't give anything back to you, they don't improve your life in any way, they don't help you, they don't support you. It's always like, "Ugh, whatever, whenever you tell them to do something, then you start to realize that those people are crabs in the bucket. They're people who are going to just drag you down over and over and over and never lift you up, never improve your life, never improve your attitude or your thought process. And those people are going to be a drain on you, not only, but if you have other teammates, they're going to be a drain on their other teammates, and they're going to bring the entire team down, no matter what. So you do a wonderful job of that. For me, when you text me, hey, just thinking about you and hoping that everything is going well and like your mind is in the right place, you're doing a great job, just wanted to appreciate you and send you this. So you do a great job for me to be able to succeed as a leader, because we're as leaders pouring into other people as much as we possibly can, trying to tell them those things.
Mhm.
And for us, again, we have to figure out ways. And as an entrepreneur, as a leader, you also have to figure out ways to fill up your own fucking cup. Because if you consistently need other people to tell you you're doing great or other people to tell you you're doing awesome, then you're in the wrong fucking career. Like, no matter what career it is, if you're an entrepreneur and you need other people to tell you you're doing a good job, get the fuck out, because you're going to have most days where you're not told that and nobody's going to tell you that. And a lot of days where people are going to tell you that's stupid or you're crazy or that doesn't make sense or whatever. So you're going to have to be able to fill up your own cup. But as you grow a team and you create that culture, you want people on your team that naturally help you fill your cup up as well. And there's things that also help you. My business partner Brent and I fill up our cups now where we see people changing their stripes and improving their lives and putting their kids in private school when they were in public, or getting a new rental home or buying a home or buying a car, putting a pool in their backyard, things like that, that they're able to level up their life
Mm.
and their family's lives because they're a part of Genesis and who we are, or any of my other companies. That's huge. That's really what fills up our cup now. So you don't have to fill up your own cup when you see your team being able to succeed and grow and achieve their dreams.
Well, and we're gonna film another podcast on whether or not self-care is lame or legit. So we're gonna dig into that a little bit more, the whole self-care and filling your own cup, which is really what self-care is all about, making sure you're coming from an abundant place so that you have something to give. So if you're listening and you want to hear more about that, check out a our podcast on whether or not self-care is lame or legit, because we're going to dig into that a lot. And so then the really one of the things I want to find out about is you really admire both. Is it Jocko Willink? Is that how I say his last name? You've brought him up a few times, and I'm just not sure if I'm saying his last name properly. Is
Willink, yep.
Willink. Okay, okay.
Jocko Willink.
And you also talk about Andy Frisella.
Yep.
And so they have two separate concepts, and I want your input on it. So Jocko is famous for his extreme ownership idea, which is a leader needs to take basically 100% of the responsibility. And while Andy has stated he agrees with this, but he also thinks that practically speaking, people need to have and take responsibility and ownership too. Where do you sit on this issue?
I think both of those concepts are a part of the same vertical, if you will, or a part of the same measuring tool. And it's in the way that you interpret each one, I think that they fit together really well. So Jocko's extreme ownership idea is exactly that. Everything instead of shit rolls downhill, like people usually say when it comes to hierarchy, shit rolls uphill. Meaning that if there's a problem on the front lines, it's because the general did something wrong. And Jocko is an ex Navy SEAL. He came from war, did multiple combat missions, etc. And at the same time, I don't think Jocko would say, well, if one soldier did something wrong on the battlefield, that is the general's fault necessarily. But at the same time, I think what he is saying is that everybody is 100% responsible and should take 100% responsibility. And there's people below you that don't take responsibility. Let's say they take 80% responsibility, then the extra 20% should roll uphill and fall to the manager or the leader because the manager or the leader didn't teach them how to be
Mhm.
100% accountable. And
Mm.
it's so I think both concepts are actually very true where they connect with each other. Where Andy says, yes, and accountability is, I agree with Andy, accountability is one of our core values. Everybody should be accountable for all parts of the business, not just their little section. If they see something else wrong over here, they should go over there and try and fix it, not point and say, hey, this person's doing this wrong or this person did this wrong, and tattletale because God knows I will just crush them for doing shit like that in our business. But saying, hey, this, I've noticed that this is a problem. I tried to fix it, or I don't know how to solve it. Here's some ideas that I have to fix it. Can you help me? So that's again taking accountability for your actions, taking accountability for what you do. I tell staff all the time and my teammates, I don't care what you did. Like, I don't care if we fucked up. I do care how we're going to solve it. And so come to me, tell me what the problem is and how we're going to solve it, not Amanda did this and I just wanted to report that to you. I don't give a fuck. I will report you. I will write you up for fucking tattletaling on her. You know, I don't care. I care about, did you talk to her about it or did you try and solve the problem, or is it a problem you can't solve and you need our help for? Because Lord knows, number one, all the problems we talked about, all the problems come to us anyways. We
Mhm.
got to fix them. So if you're bringing me a problem to fix, at least have some ideas of how to fix it so that we can grow together, or shut the fuck up. It's as simple as that. I don't like tattletales in our company. So have some fucking accountability for your own actions. And it's the same way with how Andy's talking, or that's how Andy talks, where you have to have that accountability. And Jocko's the same, where you have to have accountability. Either way, there has to be accountability in all relationships in your team. Like, I take care of what I need to, you take care of what you need to. We understand that, but we are willing to help each other. That's part of our teamwork. That's part of who we are as a company. And that's part of how we want to grow together. And so that's where I think they seem very different when they write them down, but I think they're almost saying the same thing in the end when it comes back around to it.
Mhm.
Because I think Andy would agree that, you know, if he has a guy on the front lines packing boxes and he fucks up putting the wrong labels on the wrong box and shit gets shipped everywhere, that's not his fault. And I know Jocko would agree with that as well. That's not his fault. But it is their fault if they didn't train the staff, teach the staff, show the staff what to do in order to properly succeed at packing the boxes. But I know both those guys and I know they would. So looking at yourself, if you're going to play that game, well, that's not my fault, that's his fault. Was it your job to teach that person how to do whatever they fucked up on? If it's just you as the business owner and you're in one clinic and there's only 5 to 10 people, yeah, it was your fucking fault because you're the only person there. You're the only leader. You're the
Mhm.
one training everybody. That's what your position is. And as you grow, if there's other managers in place and a person fucks up, hey, you got to talk to the manager and yourself on what's our training systems like for these people. Is it something where everybody's fucking up, or is it just one guy and we need to just retrain that one guy? So consistently figuring out, hey, how are our processes, how are our procedures working? Because then that's how you get reciprocated as well. If you teach a person how to succeed in their position in your business, they are going to love you for it, because most of the time people just say, here's the job, here's what you got to do. And there's no picture of success. There's no vision of this is what it looks like to be really successful as part of this company and how you can grow or expand or improve.
Yeah, and the extreme ownership concept to me, it's like that also comes from the top down in the sense that when as a leader you can say, "This is what I did not wrong," or "This is what I could have done better," or "This is where I could make an improvement." It takes a little bit of time sometimes, but your staff then does the same. They should be reciprocating and coming back to you and owning some aspect of why something didn't go well. And so they should be able to come back and go, okay, here's what I didn't do well, or here's what I could have improved on. And you've got two people in the same scenario talking about how they could have impacted the situation. And when you have that, now you have extreme ownership where it's like 100% and 100%. Like whether or not somebody else did something, I'm going to take 100% of what I could have done better, or maybe where I missed the mark. And then the other person does the exact same thing. It's in relationships too, romantic relationships, marriages, things like that. You can't take, I don't think, 50% and go, "Well, I'm only taking 50% of this problem because you're
Right.
the other
Yep.
50% of the problem."
Exactly.
Like, you have to take 100% of the problem. If I had an attitude, and that caused an argument, well, where did it start? Well, I had an attitude. Well, did the argument, did he have to respond that way? Well, maybe not, but I can't be like, "Well, but you said this after I had an attitude." Well, if I hadn't had the attitude, so it's 100% my fault.
Right.
Now, if the reaction is one that isn't like the best, then you take 100% responsibility for the reaction. So it's two people taking 100%. And I think that's where the concept of extreme ownership comes in. If you have a little bit of you that thinks, I'm only going to take 80% of this because that person still did this thing wrong, then you're not truly being accountable because you're leaving a little space for the victim mentality. And that doesn't get you anywhere, especially as a leader. So I think the more extreme you are on your ownership as a leader, the more you're going to teach your teams to have the same level of accountability.
Absolutely. No, you're 100% right on that.
So, my final question for you is this fifth key point to bearing the weight of expectation. If there's one more thing you feel like our listeners need to hear from somebody who has built 8 and 9 figure businesses and has a mastermind and courses and a podcast and a family with 4 kids. I mean, there is so much on your shoulders. What do you feel like is some insight or inspiration you could share with somebody that's really stretched as far as the space that they take up in the world, the vision that they have, and the weight of expectation that comes with all of that?
I think one of the most important things that you can remember is, in the end of the day, it really just comes down to you and what you're willing to take day in, day out. Um, you There's different phrases. You know, expect what you inspect. Um, you get more of what you tolerate, things like that. And if you want to be great, if you want to grow a big business, just realize that there's going to be a lot of expectations on you no matter what. But if you want to do something great, if you want to build something amazing, then someone will always have high expectations of you. If you want to just sit on your couch all fucking day and eat Cheetos and not improve the world or people's lives around you, guess what? You'll have a quote unquote easy life, maybe, but nobody will ever expect anything of you. Greatness and people doing great things have the highest amount of expectations, not only from other people, but for themselves.
Mm.
So if you don't have high expectations for yourself, and you don't want high expectations for yourself, that's fine. But this isn't the podcast for you. These aren't the teams for you. These aren't the businesses for you. But if you do, I mean, there's plenty of places out there that will cultivate that, that will grow that, that will improve that. And maybe you're the entrepreneur running it and realize, hey, that's just part of it. Part of building an amazing team, an amazing business, and realizing that you are going to have a shitload of people have expectations of you. Now, Brent and I have now hundreds of employees that they expect us to win. They expect us to grow. They expect us to innovate. They expect us to give them their bonuses when they hit their numbers. They expect us to do those things for them. And doing those things over and over and over and staying true to our word is what has allowed us to continue to scale and to continue to improve. So you will have those expectations of you. Everyone's going to have those expectations of you. And that's part of being great. If nobody had any expectations of you, then you're not doing anything great or worthy of anybody to believe in you at all.
So good. Uh, you mentioned earlier in this podcast that you met a woman this weekend at the event that wanted to join the mastermind.
Mhm.
So let's talk about the mastermind for a minute. And if somebody's listening and they want to join, talk about what it is, how they join, how they connect, and whether or not they would be how they would know if they're a good fit for it.
So, our mastermind for medical entrepreneurs is called Charismetics. So, the website is joincharismetics.com. That is spelled Charismedx. So, Charismetics. And it's a mix of charisma and the medical field because a lot of times physicians, nurse practitioners, nurses, just medical entrepreneurs in general, they lack a certain type of charisma in order to grow their business, and that's needed. That's needed to
Mhm.
sell somebody something or someone to pay you money to do or to have what you are giving them. You got to have some sort of charisma to convince them to do that. And medics is for medical people. This is only for medical entrepreneurs. It's only for people doing cash pay or insurance pay businesses, mostly cash pay businesses. But I have lots of insight on owning and operating an insurance based business. And it's a lot of your mindset, how to build great teams, how to grow and how to scale, how to market. Essentially, I've done it over and over and over multiple times. And there aren't any groups that are really dedicated to helping each other, that are really dedicated to uniting the clans and getting together and helping everybody improve. Because there's plenty of clientele, there's plenty of money to be had, and there's plenty to go around. And a lot of people in our world don't believe that. They have this mindset where if I win, you automatically have to lose. And that's not the case, especially in the medical field, because it's focused on the clientele. They don't realize that. So if we could build this thing, if we could get people together and grow we feel like it will be a massive movement of just improvement in the healthcare field, improvement in the world of just healthcare and healthcare leadership, and really training healthcare professionals that maybe don't get the leadership skills, the training of how to build big teams, how to run big teams. If they get that, then we could really change healthcare in the way that it is delivered in the
Mhm.
US, and that's part of why we built it. So,
This is such a good time too. There's so much change happening in our government from the medical space that what an incredible time to then connect with like-minded individuals that can help you really impact the medical industry in such a positive way. And for those people maybe who don't want to jump all in with a mastermind, but do want to access more of your free courses and leadership training and all the free assets that you have for them. They can find that at dralexspinoso.com/courses. And there's a ton of information on there. So get connected. Stay connected with us and with the message, and use these things that we're teaching you. And as a recap, the 5 takeaways are, if you're just tuning in or you tuned in late and you missed a few of these, this is what you're going to get out of it. You'll know if you want to go back and re-listen to it. One is shift your mindset to see that expectations are actually a privilege, and that's proof that you're really a leader. 2, focus on serving people, not being perfect. I think that's something you really gotta listen to, because that is a powerful key. 3, check yourself for the Messiah complex and start raising up other leaders. And 4, remind yourself that healthy relationships are reciprocal. And then the final key, number 5, was, did you actually say a title for it? I don't think you said a title for it, but you did explain that. You explained something that I don't remember.
Yeah, I don't remember either. What do we say? No, I think it was that realizing in the end you're going to have pressure, and pressure
That's
again,
it.
like number one, is a privilege. And if you want to build something great, you're going to have people think and expect highly of you. If you don't want to build anything great, nobody will expect anything of you. So
See,
realize that.
I just knew you were going to say it way better than
There
I
you
could.
go. I think
Yeah.
that's what it was.
That's exactly what it was. All right. If you liked this podcast, enjoyed it, got some value out of it, download it, share it with a friend, and make sure you subscribe and tune in next time. We've got a lot more great stuff coming your way.
All right, guys. See you next time.